Wearing lipstick. First time I've worn lipstick in ages, and it's to hide how dry my lips are today. Hey guys, it's Kathleen. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing another reading of some Reddit NoSleep stories. And my dog's sitting right next to me because... Hold on. Are you crooked? My dog's sitting next to me, so if you can hear panting, that's him. Chillin'. Okay, so the first one is called James and the Cave. There are a lot of ways for the teenage son of a single mom to get in trouble on the privileged streets of suburbia. I stole hubcaps and chromies off cars. I drank beer. I smoked pot a couple times and even tried to fall in line with a crowd more than twice my age. But the biggest mistake of all came when James and I decided to venture into the cave. We knew the danger in that decision. We all heard the stories. The kids in school said that the cave contained more mysteries than even modern science could figure out. Lack of oxygen meant lack of exploration. No one knew exactly how deep the tunnels went. No one knew all the different paths. There were short guided tours, sure, and vague maps too, but nobody in the 9th grade ever went in further than the entrance. We just wanted to be the first ones. It rained a lot that day. I remember very distinctly watching 10-foot waves of water smack up against the rocks from up upon the beachhead. I wished it would stop. We had tried to entice a couple guys from school to come with us. We told them the story about the missing child from back in the 1800s. We even told them that hikers still heard his voice. But after a long wait, nobody showed. And we knew they would blame it on the storm. "Bunch of pussies," James shouted from the edge of the woods. "Let's do it anyway. Then we can tell them about all the cool shit they missed." Without another word, he took off through the trees. I followed him. I didn't know if that will make sense to anyone reading this at whatever time they read it. I never had many friends. I never had any siblings. James was the closest thing in the world to either. He was the son of a single parent, just like me. His brother went to school in a city far away. Maybe I knew that this monumental adventure would set our friendship above all the rest. Maybe I just wanted to belong to something. Maybe I just wanted someone to hang around with for more than a couple of years. The beach led to a stretch of woods that hid several steep valleys and ravines. I slipped a few times and scraped my hands, but the sound of James doing the same somewhere ahead told me where he was headed. Eventually, a clearing came up, and he stopped. I found my best friend standing outside the mouth of the cave. "You ready?" He had 2 oxygen tanks that he stole from his dad, strapped to his back. I refused to carry them. Part of me felt like we would never go through with his plan. Part of me hoped we would still go home. Nevertheless, James was already halfway through setting up on his own when I found him. "You sure those things work?" I asked him. "Sure as shit. I tested them. Guess it's good that it's only the 2 of us. Dad only had 2. You ready or not?" Echoes of thunder rumbled over our heads like the scene of some stupid horror movie. A fresh batch of heavy rainfall pattered the leaves above our heads. The thrill of decision felt like a rush of adrenaline. We had come this far. I couldn't check it out. In that moment, I felt less like a scared kid of 13 and more like a man as I stared down the shadows that extended well beyond our line of sight. I felt invincible. Of course we would be all right. "Ready," I nodded. James stepped forward and helped me attach all the equipment to my chest and back. He looked serious. I took that attitude as a reassurance, like maybe he really did know what we were getting ourselves into. Maybe there was some hope for us. After everything was set up and ready to go, we walked forward like 2 space aliens and gingerly hopped over the rope. The first sound that sticks out in the cave is the dripping. It sounds like an unseen, leaky faucet. Water fell around us into pools of slowly growing liquid bacteria, and our footsteps ricocheted off the walls like a bad omen. As we got further away from the entrance, it got harder to see, and I pulled out 2 pairs of flashlights. The light revealed cavernous and twisted paths that broke and separated from one single road down the center. I pointed towards each of them, but the bulb did nothing but dull the unending blackness that stretched out in either direction. "Do we need our oxygen yet?" I asked. The tank started to weigh heavily on my back. I don't think so. We're not enclosed yet." And so we continued on. We never had to worry much about finding our way back. The path dove and rose at random points, but stayed straight most of the way. Eventually, we heard the ocean roar over our heads. James turned back to me. He looked like he wanted to say something about how cool it sounded underneath the sea. But suddenly, somebody else's voice echoed through the walls instead. Hello? The flashlight dropped out of my hand and the world went dark. Its beam of light caught hints and flashes of stalactites in the shadows. It dipped down a hill and I tried to chase it just as James called out to the voice in the dark. Hello? Who's out there? I begged him to shut up. Nobody should be out there. The fact that we heard anybody's voice deep in an abandoned cave made me shiver in the disgusting humidity. Help me, it replied. Without another word, James took off in the direction of its cry. I grabbed the flashlight before it dipped down a hole and tried to run after him, but bits of rock jutted out from the path. I lost my footing and fell hard. The pain in my knee made it difficult to get up. James, get back here! There's no one in here, it's just an echo. You heard it too. I'm not going to leave him, he called back. I tried to get up and run. I screamed for James to slow down as I limped after him down the main path. He stopped abruptly at the intersection of an unknown corridor. Shut the fuck up! It's the kid! It has to be! Listen! He said as I nearly slammed into his shoulder. Hello? Help? Someone replied in the distance. James took off down the other path. I waited at the fork in the road and begged him to stop. I may have been a stupid kid, but I knew that following these tunnels could lead to death. Oxygen or not. It was all too easy to get lost. We didn't have proper maps. We didn't have any training. We were just two arrogant ninth graders chasing ghosts in a place we did not understand. James, I'm not following you, man. James, get back here. James! Eventually, his faded footsteps faded into the background. I begged through tears for him to come back. I listened for whispers in between the unending drips of water. I tried to make shapes out of the shadows in the distance and hope they could be him. But nobody replied. Nobody showed up. I waited for several painstakingly long minutes. That quickly turned into an hour. Then 2. The walls of the cave started to whisper after a while. I wondered whether my oxygen would deplete. I wondered whether I was already feeling the effects. Eventually, I had to go back. I hated leaving my friend, and I was terrified of the consequences, but I did not want to die in there. The main path stayed straight all the way back. I shouted and banged against the walls with a stick while running. I hoped that somewhere, anywhere, James could hear my footsteps and follow the sound of my voice. I half expected to find him waiting at the entrance of the cave, laughing and carrying on like an idiot. He would probably call me a pussy for crying, but when the rough gravel path finally spilled out to the freedom of dim sunlight and green grass, James was nowhere to be seen. I sat by the entrance for another hour. The panic of the encounter finally started to weigh down on me at the time. Our parents would be looking for us soon. They might check the beachhead and find us missing. Would they blame me? Would they think I did something? I didn't know, but I decided to run there anyway. James' dad found me by the jetty, sobbing hysterically and ranting about a voice in the cave. What followed was the largest coordinated search in state history. Divers searched for hours and days on end. High-end equipment was brought in to search the various unmapped twists and turns of the cave. A lot of new information was discovered, but the explorers could only get so far. The tunnels proved to be even deeper and more intricate than previously expected. Some stretched counties wide, and some waded into the depths nearly 100 feet beneath the ocean's floor. The official search lasted 6 weeks, but they never found a trace of James. It's been 15 years since the biggest mistake of my childhood. I still live in the same town. I have a family of my own now, and kids who love to explore those same woods. The cave has been blocked off ever since the incident. A wood piece of paneling prevents anybody from getting in. But my son still wanted to see the spot. He heard the stories in school, just like I did. He had a curious mind, just like mine. Sometimes I worried that he would try to investigate the cave on his own time. And so, last Tuesday, we took that same familiar path together, from the beachhead down through the woods. We stood outside the entrance. We stared down blackness that poked in through the barrier. We listened for a while, because I wanted to, and then we heard it. The voice sounded childish and quiet, and maybe a little scared, like the voice of a ghost. But somehow, even after all these years, I still recognize the tone. You ready? Help us. Oh, ew. Stories like that, I'm just always like, The next story is called A Private Collection. I've not always had this gift, the gift of being able to see ghosts. I was only able to see them after I had committed my first murder. I remember it as if it was yesterday. Little Laura, she was so pretty. Blonde, curly hair, the face of an angel, always smiling. A teenage girl with her whole life in front of her. I followed her when she was coming home from school, and I got her in the little park she walked through to get home. I took her into a dark corner, then slit her throat and buried her in a corner of that same park. It was my first murder, and I took very great care because, until now, no one has ever found her body. And it was shortly afterwards that I saw it. Her ghost. It was transparent and silent. It was standing at the foot of my bed and simply looking at me, searchingly. I was scared to death at first, of course. I thought it was there to take revenge, to haunt me, or else to push me towards suicide, one way or another. But it remained there, doing nothing. It was staring at me the whole time. I tried hard to get rid of it with salt and steel, like in the films, but it was hopeless. I couldn't reach it. I couldn't touch it, and it couldn't touch me. It was just a burden following me around. Maybe I was hoping I would feel some remorse, that it would prick my conscience, but unfortunately for it, I don't have one. A conscience, that is. On the contrary, I was very keen to add some more ghosts to my collection, so I began to look for other victims, like that 32-year-old homosexual who I had found through a dating site. After attracting him into an alleyway, I disemboweled him and left him there to rot. That was my first known victim, the one that launched my reputation as the Midnight Killer, as it became my practice to kill my victims at that precise hour. As I had expected, when I woke up, I had not one ghost, but two. Next to Laura was the ghost of my victim on the previous night, with the same exact expression on his face. That expression that I was going to see on more and more faces, for I was not about to stop when things were going good. So I kept on killing, more and more frequently, more and more perfectly. My collection of ghosts grew bigger with each murder. They were almost like a little army following me everywhere, staring at me fixedly. Oh, if only others could see what I saw. Each face was like a hymn of glory, a tribute to my work. Each face reminded me of the night I had killed it. I was enjoying the best days of my short life. But then one incident upset everything. Somebody had had the bright idea of copying my modus operandi and killing people in the same way I did. But he did not choose his victims at random, as he was following in my footsteps. So he killed people from the same families as my victims. Their uncle, their father, their mother, their sister, until I found him. He was full of nothing but unconditional admiration for me. He'd even asked for my autograph, which I gave him, of course, signed with his own blood. But the interesting thing was not that wretched copycat, but what happened afterwards. In the morning, his ghost had indeed joined the others, but this time they were no longer looking at me. They were much too busy with the new arrival. They were torturing him. Horribly. Even I, used as I was to seeing that type of thing, could not help but averting my eyes to the barbaric spectacle. I even felt sorry for that miserable creature, which just goes to show. Then at last I understood. I understood why they followed me. Why they never said anything. They were waiting. They were waiting for my turn to come, for me to finally enter the spirit world, when they could have their revenge at last. Just as that wretched copycat, they had great plans for me, and all they had to do was to wait for the moment to come. And as the ghosts that they were, waiting was what they did best. I tried, of course, to ask forgiveness. I wept. I pleaded, but it made no difference. They remained like marble, and I could do nothing to alter my fate. After a while, I became resigned. What was the point? Now that the police have caught me, and I am soon going to go to the electric chair, I am very frightened. I'm really terrified because I'm the only person on earth who knows what awaits him in his afterlife. An eternity of torture inflicted by the ghosts of his victims. And, well, they know it because I can see them at this very moment as I'm telling you my story. They no longer bear the same expression with which they used to greet me every morning. No. Now, for the first time, I can see them smiling. Ew. Oh gosh. It started out bad and it just got worse. It's like a bad multiple course meal. It just like starts off bad and it just progressively gets Alright, and that's it. That's my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed me reading those scary stories. I know I like reading them, though it does give me a sore throat. I'm gonna go, so give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe to see more content from me. I post every Monday and Thursday, and leave a comment telling me what you'd like to see in the rest of my Halloween videos. See you in the next video. Bye.